Let's go way back. Let's go way, way back. Right into NES. So we'll start out by NES, and we'll kind of go over each game. Just really, spend some time hanging out, and we might even just continue this next stream. But this is something I want to do for the longest time. For those of you who don't know, NES games are for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which I still have kicking back there. The Nintendo Entertainment System is one of the consoles from the 80s, one of the most popular consoles from the 80s. And their cartridges were decent size, per se. First one I'm going to show here is Kirby's Adventure on the NES. As far as I know, this is one of Kirby's first games, if not the first game. Absolutely incredible game. Really, really incredible. I really recommend if you have an NES to play this. It still holds up great today. And I would highly recommend Kirby's Adventure. If you like platformers, it's really good. Final Fantasy, the first Final Fantasy release on the NES. Final Fantasy, I mean, enough said. It's cool. This game, it can be very difficult if you don't really know where you want to go. And the same can also be said for Dragon Warrior, which is the first Dragon Quest game as well. But, these games... Yeah, Final Fantasy was on the NES, which is super cool. And this one is from, what year? 1985. In this game here, great RPG, obviously, and you can actually run into some pretty crazy stuff right out the gate, which can make it very difficult. You can go straight to the final boss within the first 30 seconds. I'll put it that way. I showed this quickly here, but this is Dragon Warrior. Dragon Quest's first game, another amazing RPG. Also, very much need a guide to play this game. Nintendo Power Guides. If you want to get really physical, you can have beside you, and it kind of just shows you the whole game right through and through. That's the first Dragon Quest game. Also recommend. I haven't played this game in forever. Iron Sword. There is multiple for this game, so this is part of the Wizards and Warriors series. There is multiple, but this one is another great game as well. Haven't played it in a long time, so I can't comment too much on it. I've never played this game. I have it to the earth. As far as it looks like, maybe it's a shooter, an NES shooter or something like that. I'm not sure. I haven't played it. Some of these games I really haven't played. Sword Quest and Atari, yeah. Some of the names are very much like that. Top Gun, absolutely atrocious abomination of a game, but it holds up to its classic as well. Landing, planes in this game is probably one of the most difficult things you can do in video games. But I mean, it has a lot of nostalgia for people, for sure. Tetris. We all know Tetris. There it is. This one is from 1985. I think this was its first release on physical. I don't know if the Game Boy version might have been first. I'm actually not entirely sure, but it's amazing popularity. And obviously we know Tetris, and it's a great game. Atari had a release. Oh, interesting. I never... E.T. on NES. I don't have E.T. on NES. I know E.T. on Atari is, notoriously bad. Silent Service on the NES as well. Haven't played this one. I think this was a pickup I picked up maybe 10 years ago for 10 cents. Oh, it was the E.T. the NES. Yeah. No, there's some real bad ones on the NES that I think would take that for E.T. I'm not too sure on this. I picked it up, never really played it. And there's going to be a theme for some of these games here. Wayne Gretzky's Hockey. One of the earlier hockey games on NES. And of course, you got Gretzky here, but he's in his Los Angeles Kings uniform. But the GOAT, yes. Actually, not bad. You know what? For what you got on NES, some sports games are pretty good. Iron Tank. Invasion of Normandy, great game. You drive around as a little tank, and You shoot up some bad guys. You just go level per level, and it's kind of like a consistent level thing. So it's really kind of cool. If you enjoy driving around in a tank and shooting bad guys, and you want to create a collection, I'd recommend Iron Tank for sure. Golf. Do I need to say more? It's golf. It's golf, and it still has the original video thing on here when you would rent these from the video store. You have it on Atari, yeah. Golf is, and it's like, when games back then were just like, you just say the name of the sport. You want to play golf? Well, let's go buy golf. You just play golf. Dr. Mario. It's basically Tetris, but the Doctor is in as Mario, and has some other weird, interesting quirks to it. There's viruses you got to deal with, but it's yes, it is a very great game. I'd say it's a must for the NES. I never played this, but it looked interesting. Anticipation. It's a board game, and look at the happiness some of these people have. I don't know if that's super blurry, but yeah, but you can see it. In the 80s, everybody was just completely happy. It's just this party fun for all ages, and they're just screaming on the cover. I never actually played it, but Anticipation was a board game. So speaking of putting just the title of your sport there, this is football, but it's called 10-Yard Fight, which is, you don't want to call your game football, you call it 10-Yard Fight. There's football. NES. And this one is top of the cake of my NES collection. Top of the cake is Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. I mean, we all know Super Mario Brothers, and then there's Duck Hunt. This came as a package deal. These, when I first started collecting, these were everywhere for like $5 a piece. Now they're a little more than that, but not crazy expensive. But it just shows how the popularity in this hobby has gone up. 1985 Super Mario Brothers, its first release. I think there is a copy you can get where it's just Super Mario Brothers, and no Duck Hunt attached to it. But you need the light gun to play this, and you need an old ass I can't point at it. Right there. You need an old CRT TV to do it. It makes it much better. That's the NES collection from the 80s. Classic. I don't own any Atari, which sucks. But we'll get into the next one. And this one's a bit bigger, too. Too many games. There we go. I'm going to have to fix this all later, but it's going to be all over the place. Come on. Pull out. I need better ways to do this, but we're going to look at Super Nintendo now. Super Nintendo is another great one. A lot of these aren't necessary to really go through in too much detail. It's a lot of it's sports and stuff, and I got these way back then when I tried to do an instant collection. But so many classics on, yeah, I'd say it's one of the best for sure. Like highly say it's one of the best up there. First one we got here is a big hitter. Super Mario World. I'm just trying to get this out of the way. Super Mario World, this thing is actually quite expensive complete. I don't have it obviously complete. But Super Mario World is, the sequel to the first trilogy of games on the NES. Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3, and then you got World. So this is Yoshi's introduction. Great game on the console, and it's highly rated. Super Mario Kart. If you want to rage and you want to just scream at your TV, Mario Kart Wii and all that, those things are hard. But if you want a challenge, Super Mario Kart is insane. Actually insane, but great game nonetheless. This is where it all started. That's the first Mario Kart game. Came out on Super Nintendo in 1991. It was the last Super Mario Bros. Game until New Super Mario Bros. In 2005, I believe. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Well, yeah, I guess it was quite a while. Donkey Kong Country. Or Donkey Kong Country. I also have the original manual for it. The instruction booklet. You know, when you were a kid, you know, these things were... these are the best things ever. You know, look at the pictures. Like, I mean, look at that. Look at Kong. You know, you didn't have... They came out with these all the way for quite a while. But, you know, Donkey Kong Country is, you know, such an amazing title that they released. Also by Rare. Released it as well. Released on GameCube. Might have released on GameCube. I knew they came with some new ones. Not sure. But this is the original card for sure. They came out with it on Game Boy too. Yeah, SNES can do 3D pretty well. Considering what it has. Oh, here's I'd say a hidden gem in a little bit here. Super Smash TV. So Super Smash TV is a game made by Acclaim, and it is fantastic. I would highly, highly recommend this one if you were to pick it up. You know, it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive either. You can probably pick it up for $40, give or take. But it's basically just an arena shooter. You're in an arena and there's a bunch of guys that come at you and you're shooting them up and you go on to the next arena and you keep on doing that. Boss at the end of the level. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. Super Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter, one of the best classics for... Not Super Street Fighter, sorry. Street Fighter 2. One of the best classics for fighting games. If you like fighting games, even if you don't like fighting games, this is the one to play and pick up. Street Fighter 2 by Capcom. They came out with so many different other Street Fighter 2 games after that. But that's that. Mario Paint. You paint as Mario. And you also have a mouse that comes with it. And then you can use the mouse on your SNES to play. It's a great game, but, you know. Here's one of the worst games apparently ever made. Shaq Fu. So it is basically Shaq. There we go. It's basically Shaquille O'Neal, doing Kung Fu. It's a fighting game like Street Fighter 2, but as I just said, it's Shaq. It's considered one of the worst games to have been released. I wouldn't say it's that bad, but it's definitely not great. It's terribly iconic. I played a lot of it when I was a kid, and you know, when you're a kid and you play games, you just love whatever you have. And Shaq Fu was one of those. They added Mario Paint to Switch too. Nice. Didn't even know that. Mouse controls and the Joy-Con too. Oh, that's sweet. Well, it's a good game. It's a classic. Prince of Persia. This is the first Prince of Persia release. I'm trying to get it like so that it's very easy to see. I don't know if there's really going to be a way for us to do that. It's just the focus is quite difficult unless I cover the whole camera. There we go. Prince of Persia. Great platformer. First Prince of Persia game. I haven't beat it. I haven't played too much of it, but made by Konami, and it's good. Star Trek Deep Space Nine on the SNES. Another kind of unique game. I haven't played too much of this one either, but it kind of plays It's almost kind of linear, I guess you could say, in a way. But can't comment too much on it. Actually, I don't remember too much of it. So I'll leave it at that. The rest of the games I have here, I'm not going to get into too much. These are all just sports titles. We'll show a couple at a time here. Pro Sport Hockey and NHLPA Hockey. There's the Super Nintendo came out with a ton of sports games. And these are just written all over the top. Wizards Video, Rogers Video, Brett Hull, NHL 95. There's got some other games here. Super Bases Loaded actually is a great baseball game if you like baseball. This one is a Riddick Bowe Boxing. I haven't really done too much of that. Oh, yeah, 2-day rental. Madden 95. These are all pretty worn up. I think I got these in like a package deal for very cheap for the quick collection when I was young. WrestleMania, Super WrestleMania, made by LJN. At the top there, and there's gunk on it. I didn't even notice that. That's how long they've been sitting. This one is destroyed completely. I actually tried to get rid of it, but I think it's Bassmasters Classic fishing game. And then the last two are more sports games. Foreman for Real boxing title and Nigel Mansell's World Championship. Have I played many of these? No. I played a few of them. Every now and then I want to play a classic sports game, but it's not very often. Two more things I want to show. Super Game Boy. This is really cool. You want to play, a Game Boy game? Pokemon Yellow, Game Boy Color. Slap that in. You're playing Pokemon Yellow on your TV. What can I say more? Super, super cool. I love this thing. And this is how I play most of my Game Boy games, actually. I go right on to this. Back when Nintendo emulation supported it. Yeah. back then. Last one I have a case coming for it, but for now it's uncased. It's F-Zero, complete in box on the Super Nintendo. I don't really collect complete in box stuff, but I do have a few every now and then. This is the best of Super Nintendo versions of it. But F-Zero is, Captain Falcon. It's one of the better racing games. If you want a really good racing game on the Super Nintendo, F-Zero is worth a pickup. You can get them complete in box, actually. Find them pretty easily, actually. But you can find the loose cart for a decent price. Okay. F-Zero. Yeah, F-Zero GX on the... that would be on GameCube, right? GameCube. Okay, let me put these away here. We're just going to scuffly put them away. Get on to the next batch of goodies. Sega Genesis, anybody? So, Sega Genesis. Is, Sega's introduction to the competition with Nintendo. First 16-bit. Yeah, so it's a 16-bit console like the Super Nintendo. And they had, obviously, the introduction with it was Sonic the Hedgehog. This is Sonic 2. It's a loose copy. But their things are much smaller than the Super Nintendo cartridges. Which were, they were about a little bit bigger than that. They were black. They had a little handle on the top, the back, so you can pull it out of the console. There's some great games on this console as well. Here's X-Men for the Sega Genesis, a loose copy I have. X-Men is a great Sega Genesis game. I'd recommend it. I wouldn't say it's a hidden gem, but it's well deserved. This is a hidden gem for me, anyways, and I don't see people talk about it too much anymore. Golden Axe on the Sega Genesis, an amazing side scroller where you can just beat them up as you go as side scrolling. It's a great co-op game as well. I would actually really recommend Golden Axe if you ever wanted to pick up a great game on Sega Genesis. Highly recommend that one. Speaking of Golden Axe, here's the boxed copy of the second game. Second game's not as great as the first one, but still worth it. I would also recommend this one. And Sega Genesis games come in a great box like that. Worth it. They kind of do look like VHS boxes in a bit. Almost same size. Almost. If you want to rage, this is the game for you. This is called Echo the Dolphin, and it looks happy on the front, but it is not happy. This game is very difficult. On the back it says, "You are Echo, a powerful young dolphin. A mysterious storm has swept your family from the sea. The search to find them will take you through vast underwater realms of treachery, beauty, and adventure." So it's kind of unique, but it's very, very tough. But talking about these things here, it's like you look at your case, right? You got the game on the inside, and then you got the manual here, and the manual obviously is gorgeous. Fully colored, but not this one. The exterior at least is fully colored, which is cool. There's Echo the Dolphin on Sega Genesis. We're just gonna run this here. Sonic Spinball. So Sonic Pinball basically is what this is. It's a great little game you can play. Not much to say about it other than you're just playing pinball with a bit of a twist. There's some boss battles and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. About Sonic Spinball, or it's Echo the Dolphin for physics. Some hockey games. NHL Hockey and NHL 95. EA Sports early introductions into sports games. And you can look on the back here. This is way back if you follow the NHL, when you still have some classic teams: Hartford Whalers, the original Winnipeg Jets, the Quebec Nordiques, old Vancouver Canucks logo. This is a lot older there. They are missing some teams though. They're only showing a handful, it looks like. And then NHL 95. These are cool because they do come with like posters and stuff on the inside. So like if you want posters and stuff, they pack these with every game, which was cool. I still have original stickers on them from a retro game store for some of these games, but Altered Beast. This is a classic on the Genesis. I would highly recommend Altered Beast as well. I played a ton of this game. 1 to 2 players. So you can play with multiple people. There we go. Basically, you're a dude who just changes forms. And it's a side-scrolling not beat 'em up, but side-scrolling, great, what would you call this back in the day? I wouldn't even say adventure. Well, kind of like adventure in a way, but it's still side-scrolling. It's pretty linear. One of the earlier games on the Genesis is from '89. This one came out. Haven't played it in a while either, but I played it a lot when I first got it. That's it for the Genesis. So let me actually, instead of me just throwing them back on the shelf, Oh, by the way, here's the rest of the teams. There's the Minnesota North Stars on the top right there. On that. Let's do this. Okay. So, the next one... Oh, I gotta put these away. Hang on. The next one I have is a bit of a more obscure console. You know, I don't have a whole lot of titles for this, only a couple of them that I did enjoy. The Sega Saturn. Now, the Sega Saturn is the first disc-based console to be released by Sega. They came with absolutely massive jewel cases. I mean, like, look at the size of these cases. There was some great games on this. But there's also a lot of garbage. Blackfire, I didn't enjoy. Blackfire was, you know, a pretty rough game for me, but it's 3D helicopter game. It starts out kind of just, you're not really sure what's kind of happening in it. The cool part about these is, like, it's the jewel case thing. So you have the disc there, but your manual is also the cover art. So which makes it really cool. Not much else to say on Blackfire. I didn't get too far in it when I did play it. Some games that came with the console, I believe, Virtua Fighter 2. Just in a little sleeve here that the game comes in. Virtua Fighter is actually a great fighting game. So I actually would recommend Virtua Fighter if you ever do play the Sega Saturn. But I believe you can get this elsewhere. Instead of the Saturn. Speaking of Virtua, they were going a very virtual way. Virtual Cop. It's another Sega Saturn game. So basically, it's just I think it's a light gun shooter. I don't have the light gun for it, but the disc is beautiful, by the way. Yeah, not much for me to really say on this here. Just a great shooter. If you like light gun games. The last one I have doesn't have the manual, but it's Panzer Dragoon. This is the game for the Sega Saturn, by the way. This is literally the game. So it's a railgun game. A great one at that. Here's a bit of the gameplay on the back. You know, they've had many releases for this. You basically fly. It's hard to show it there, but basically fly a big dragon. And you take out a bunch of enemies in kind of a railgun style. Railgun. A rail shooter is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, haven't played too much of it either. I bought it, I found it, but I, regret that I didn't have the manual for it. So I've been on the search for that manual for quite some time. That's it for the Sega Saturn. I don't have a whole lot, and I don't play the Sega Saturn too often. I've been, for retro games and that, I come back to them every now and then. But it hasn't been a whole lot of gameplay for me lately. Okay. Nintendo 64. Now, we all know Nintendo 64. It was the 64-bit console, part of the Bit Wars. They have their iconic cases. I'm just covering up some writing on there, but you have some iconic cases here like this. No label, which was kind of weird. Like you go from Nintendo's NES and you go to SNES and you go to a console with no label. So that was one of the bigger things that was weird. They all came in boxes as well, but people would just throw out the boxes. So, there was no need for them. Sarge's Heroes, Army Men, green cartridge here. Great game. I would highly recommend this one as well. Basically, it's an Army Men game, and I think a lot of Army Men games play the same. But you just go through missions one at a time as an Army Man in like a kind of a toy scenario. Almost like there's a mission where you're in a freezer or a fridge, and there's one where you're in some kid's bedroom. So it's kind of really cool. I would recommend that one. The other one, Pilot Wings 64. This one has Roger's video slapped all over it. But Pilot Wings 64 is a great game as well. It's basically you're a pilot, and you're going down, and you have a parachute. I think they came out with a newer version of this recently, but you just gain points and you play around, and that's what I used to do anyways on it. Great game, I would say. The next one I got, if I can pull it out, Star Fox 64. I'm just trying to cover some writing there, but Star Fox 64. Star Fox, as High Tide mentioned before, it's on the SNES is when they're first released, but then they came out with the Star Fox 64, which was a huge success. Great, fantastic game. It really takes upon what the SNES version had and kind of really showcased the Nintendo 64. Another great title. Must pick up for the Nintendo 64. I'm trying to go through these a decent speed, I should say. But also kind of talking about a bit. Super Smash Brothers. The first release of the Super Smash Brothers games on Nintendo 64 is when it came out. I played this game to death. Like literally, this thing doesn't save anymore. And I know you can replace the battery in this one. This one takes a battery, but I took it to a shop and they said there's something wrong with the cart itself. There's the reason why it doesn't save. So I can't actually fix it. But it's so super iconic to me. I played this a ton. Super Smash Brothers is peak. You have a very small cast of characters, and it's very clunky if you're used to other ones. But it's a great game. It's a classic. Super Mario 64. Actually, a little more difficult to find now that it's very much in popularity. This really revolutionized the Super Mario series. It was the first 3D Mario game. And it really, championed the console to where it is there. You can see on the back that, this game was $14. It definitely isn't $14 anymore. Great game. Oh, another great game. Speaking of, with big hitters here, we got Paper Mario, the first Paper Mario release. Amazing game on Nintendo 64. They had some great sequels that came after that. This game has incredible replayability, I would say, even for its length of it. But it's a fantastic game. If you really like Mario and you like a little bit more different story, the artwork is incredible because it's paper. You can kind of see they look 2D there. It's kind of like a turn-based, almost like RPG kind of game. Really fantastic title. Pokemon Snap. Another fantastic title on here. Pokemon Snap was a very unique title in their series that they released, and this was basically just about you're a guy with a camera, and I believe this guy actually has some lore in the anime. But you're a guy with a camera and you're going around on a rail. So you can maybe call this a rail shooter. but you have the camera and you're taking pictures of Pokemon for your highest score. It's really cool. They had a new release with newer Pokemon recently on the Switch, but the OG still holds up today. Pokemon Stadium, another one. Great game, and Pokemon needs to come out with more games like this now. Pokemon Stadium this one's just Generation 1 Pokemon, but basically you just go onto a battlefield and you fight with Pokemon. You go through all the gym leaders, you go through all these different cups. There's different cups called like Pipsqueak Cup or something like that, and like it's just Pokemon that are only the first stage of evolution, and you can't go any further than that. So it's really, really cool. And you can also import your Pokemon into this game from the Game Boy, which is also very cool. I don't have the second one of that, unfortunately. Diddy Kong Racing, or Diddy Kong Racing. Actually, a surprisingly great game, considering they took their first jab at it. And so Diddy Kong Racing is kind of like a story-based racing game. So it's like Mario Kart in a way, but this is before we had Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 7, where you can change vehicles into flying and on water vehicles. You had Diddy Kong Racing, and Diddy Kong Racing did just that, and they did a great job with that. If you like racing games, and even if you don't like racing games, you just want a fun time to play, Diddy Kong Racing is a great title. More Donkey Kong. We have a big banana yellow cartridge here. Donkey Kong 64 with its iconic intro. Another great title on the Nintendo 64. We're just hitting all the great titles here. And don't worry, we got some garbage coming up too. But a lengthier game, you do need the expansion pack for your Nintendo 64 to play this game. Otherwise, it won't work. So this is, a really great game. It had a great introduction to it. Introduces some new characters, and you get to basically take that Donkey Kong Country into a 3D world. And it does a great job at that. Very long though. I never actually beat it. Another great game, actually, is Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey. Now, this is a hockey game, but an actual great sports game. I think it was great. So I think it's like a 4-on-4 game. You shoot the puck, it goes on fire. It has some Super Mario Strikers and Super Mario Sluggers kind of sports kind of style to it. It's a great game though. If you like sports and especially hockey, it still holds up today. Never played this one. I don't think I have. I might have. World Driver Championship. PV on the front. Don't know what that is, but World Driver Championship is a racing game made by Midway. I heard some people talk about this. That it's a great game. Haven't played it too much myself. F1 Grand Prix is another one. Sorry, I'm holding the F1 there. But another racing game. Haven't played it too much either. A lot of racing and sports games I kind of just leave. But it is what it is. This one, and a lot of these come from my childhood too. So Scooby-Doo Classic Capers, actually a great game, made by THQ. It's from the Cartoon Network. Really good, actually. I would recommend this game if you like. Let's put it this way: if you like kind of that, you need to hide from enemies. The first mission really does really well with that, where it's like you're walking around, there's a guy in a museum, and you can't get spotted by him. So you want to be a bit stealthy, but you also want some of the excitement coming in for stealth kind of games. Like this is great as well. There is some mystery involved, as Scooby-Doo is very good with. I'd say it's a great game. Nothing but great games here, right? Big hitter. Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. So this is the first Legend of Zelda game we're showcasing, and this is the oldest one I have. I don't have the first and the second one on the NES. I used to, but I don't know why I get rid of it. But you have a really beautiful holographic cover here. Like, when are you going to get this in games today? Like, not very often, unless you get like a crazy collector's edition. But it's got a gold cart. You got clean, beautiful cartridge. Majora's Mask, great game. It's sister game, Ocarina of Time. I don't own the original version, but widely regarded as one of the greatest games ever made. Legend of Zelda, if you haven't played it, Majora's Mask is great. It's very eerie too. I used to be scared of it when I was a kid. Banjo-Kazooie, the first title in its series, from 1995, I believe, or 96, one of those years. Banjo-Kazooie, another great game. Kind of plays like Donkey Kong 64 in a way, but obviously it has its differences. So it's made by Rareware as well, which also is the same people that made Donkey Kong 64. Banjo-Kazooie is another great one I'd recommend. That's Nintendo 64. Let me put them away. I got a lot of games. Okay, we're gonna move on to Game Boy. I kind of show. How do I want to show this? Yeah, I'll show it like this. Let's get into some handheld stuff. I'll do a room tour at another day. But for now, we'll just kind of go through them as such. Okay. Game Boy Color. So Game Boy, I'm just showing the Game Boy Color here. You have the original Game Boy, obviously, which is a big brick that's not in color, with no backlight or anything like that, but it had so many amazing games on it. This is the color version, the aqua teal color. Still works, great game. I don't think I have any batteries in it. I do have batteries in it, so I think you can actually hear it when it starts up. Maybe a bit. There's Game Boy Color. I still do play this one. I like to play on the originals when I can. I showcased this earlier briefly, but Mario Golf, complete and copy. I don't have a case for it, and it came like this beaten up, but I'm working on getting some cases to put these games in because I want to keep them a little bit safer. But that's a complete copy of Mario Golf. It is what it is. It's not like the Mario Golfs today, but it has some great stuff to it. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And hear me out. So Harry Potter would release many different titles. They would release many different titles, but they would release many different versions of the same game. Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets on the Game Boy Color is an RPG. It is nothing like the Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets on the PS1, which is nothing like the Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets on the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and things like that. So they're very different. This one is quite unique, I would say. Probably the better ones. The other two titles I do have, I think some of them are a bit different. Where there's more of a larger story, arching story to it, more of a roaming around the world. I showed this already. Pokemon Yellow Special Pikachu Edition, the third Pokemon installment. Great game. Recommend it. I'd say it's better than Red and Blue. I came with the yellow cartridge, and actually the rest of these are all yellow. I'll show all three of them at once. So talking about Donkey Kong Country. So this is Donkey Kong Land. Donkey Kong Land, Donkey Kong Land 2, and Donkey Kong Land number 3. So this introduces a few, playable characters. I think Candy Kong is one of them, and Junior Kong. Yeah, you kind of see them on Donkey Kong Land 3 here. I think that's their names. I'm not mistaken. I haven't made it to this game yet. It is very difficult. Very, very difficult to play. But great trilogy for platformers. Would recommend it. And then just to show off a little bit here, I got some Game Gear games. Sega gave a crack at the handheld market, and they didn't do too well, but they had some great things released. You know, you playing Sonic on the go, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 with Sonic and Tails. So you had some great games that came out with the Game Gear. And now if you're not familiar with the Game Gear, here's the Game Boy Color. You know, fits well in the hand. It's a decent sized console. Then you have this big ass thing. It eats 6 AA batteries. I mean, look at this thing. Look at the size of it. This is the Game Gear, and this is the Game Boy Color. So, you know, it's, you go out there, you buy this. I mean, it just absolutely annihilates batteries. It has 2 compartments, by the way. There's the other one. But the benefit to this was it had a backlight. I wasn't a fan of the Game Gear. I never really was. But I know for a lot of people it's their nostalgic console. And there are some good games on it. Portable system. Yeah, it's pretty massive. The speakers are louder. Okay, that's Game Boy Color. Give me a minute while I put these away. Just so that after the stream I don't have to worry about fixing them, spending hours. We're almost out of cartridge-based games. Game Boy Advance. So there's more Game Boy Advance games here. This is the console. Game Boy Advance. So they released like this, but they also had the Game Boy Advance SP, which I regrettably do not own right now. But the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance SP, which is the one with the clamshell that a lot of people remember, had a backlight to it. So this doesn't have the backlight. Like I just mentioned, yeah. But nonetheless, you know, it's still great to play. You can buy a backlight for it, but it's not the same thing. I got a couple of box copies. Backyard Sports. The backyard games are actually kind of good. I don't know if you guys remember. Hard to see there, but the character selection screens are pretty good. I think some people still play them today. So Backyard Sports, what I got there for football. Mr. Driller 2 by Namco. Complete in box. Mr. Driller 2. How have I played this? I think I played the first one. I don't know why I own this one. I think I bought it at like Walmart for like $5 when way back in the day when, you know, they'd find things in the back and nobody was collecting these things yet. As much anyways. But as far as I can tell here, it looks like a puzzle game where you drill. Yeah, maybe it's a puzzle game somewhere. Maybe we'll play it on stream. Who knows? Can't comment on that because I haven't really played it. And most of these games here I haven't played. And I will just show basically how I have them set up here. I haven't played most of these. You know, at the top there, Meet the Robinsons, Star Wars Flight of the Falcon. Got some DS games I'll get to in a minute. Kim Possible 3, Jimmy Neutron, The Sims Busting Out. I think that's VeggieTales, Larry Boy or something like that. Fantastic Four, Chronicles of Narnia, which actually, is a great game. I did play that one. Tony Hawk's Underground, mixed with Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer. Underground's good. That is a good game, actually, right here. Series of Unfortunate Events. It actually is pretty good. And this row here is, the games I started playing more and more of. X-Men. This is X-Men, the official game, for the game. Hang on. Yeah, it's my computer. I'm back, I think. But my computer likes to freeze pretty hard. And it's really annoying. And I don't know why it does this. I bought new RAM for it. I checked all the drivers. I think it's just old. I need to get a new one. Are we back? Oh, we're back. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know why my computer is just ass, apparently. X-Men, really good. Oh, Fire Emblem. So this is the first release of Fire Emblem. Amazing RPG. If for you guys, this also opens with Roy's father. So Roy is one of the characters from a lot of you might know from the Super Smash Bros. Series, but his father is introduced in that game, and I think he is in that game as well at the very end. No spoilers, but it's just it's just stating it. Batman Vengeance. Actually a good game. Side scroller. Uses a lot of Batman's weaponry to get through the levels, which is also what a lot of those games entail. Mario Kart Super Circuit, another rage-inducing game, but the second title in the series on Game Boy Advance. Great game, but very difficult. Pokemon Ruby. We love it. We love it. Pokemon's third generation introduction. The first one's on the Game Boy Advance. Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Leaf Green. One of my first Pokemon games, to be honest. Both really great. They brought the first generation Pokemon onto the Game Boy Advance because you couldn't transfer your Pokemon originally from the original Game Boy onto the Game Boy Advance. So they brought those over. Then we got on the very end there, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. Another great title in the Pokemon series. This is has a different story. You're going through dungeons, and you're meeting all these Pokemon that you can add to your team. And it's Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series are great. The two loose cartridges I have here are just random. Age of Empires, Age of Kings, great game. Age of Empires is amazing. This one is another fantastic title on the DS. Don't have the case for it, that's why it's like that. And then Pokemon Y. I don't have a case for that one either. But I believe this one is the 5th generation. No, fifth is black and white. This would be 6th generation. Another great game. Okay, and maybe my CPU is overloaded. I'm not entirely sure. Let's take a look. Take a look real quick. But then after this one, we'll show... Oh, we're on to DS. We're finally on to DS. Nope, CPU is running at 27%. 24%. Okay. Now we're going to get on to DS. Nintendo DS. Nintendo DS. This is the Nintendo DS Lite here. Here is the console. This is my original console that I still play. They had a few different versions of it. This is the second version, the Lite. They had the original beast of a console, the big fat one. That was the original DS. That's what it was really talking about. Not talking about. That's what a lot of people were talking about when they have the nostalgias, the fat ones. But this is the Lite version, the one I have. Then they came out with a DSi afterwards. When it freezes, I'll go to 100%, CPU issue. Okay, when it freezes, I'll take a look at the CPU. I just can't, my computer freezes completely. I don't even know what's going on. Let's get through a bunch of titles here. A lot of these are expensive. Pokemon on the DS is insane. But Pokemon White version 2, and then Pokemon White version for the DS. As you can see, that one's $154. They're quite expensive. And I believe they've gone up since I purchased that. But Pokemon White is, a great story game. It follows N, who is an amazing character. Introduction to them. But Pokemon White, highly recommend it. 5th version of the game. I don't have Pokemon Black. That's okay. Pokemon Diamond, one of my favorites. Pokemon Diamond is the 4th generation of Pokemon. This is the one with Piplup, Chimchar, and Turtwig as your starters. A great game, great game. I highly recommend if you really haven't played too much Pokemon and you want to go back. I think Diamond is relatively inexpensive for Pokemon. When I say that, it's like close to $100, but it's still, there. Then if you want to break your bank, but have a great experience, Pokemon Heart Gold. So this one I picked it up with $194. It's way more than that now. But it's Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are the remakes of the 2nd generation Pokemon games. Fantastic games. There was a boxed version that these came in, where you would come with a Pokewalker. Those are way more expensive, and I think this is from that, not for resale. So it didn't have the Pokewalker, obviously, because that price tag would be double the amount. Yeah, so this one also too kind of had some like Pokemon Yellow, where you can have somebody follow you, one of your Pokemon follow you. That's what made it really awesome. Great game. Continuing on with the Pokemon train, I bought this for $4.89 back in the day, because nobody wanted it, and so the local game store had it. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon: Explorers of Time. So this is another DS title in the Pokemon series. I believe they've actually remade this as well, but this features a lot of the Sinnoh Pokemon, like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and has that continuation of the same type of Pokemon game we saw earlier on the Gameboy Advance. But it's another great title. But yeah, they redid it on Switch, but here's the original here. $4.89. Like, I wish. I wish. New Super Mario Brothers. New Super Mario Brothers is the new title, obviously, for Super Mario Brothers. It kind of follows the original style of games, especially the original game, like Super Mario Brothers. Great, fantastic Super Mario Brothers game. You had tons of stuff you could do in this, and really recommend if you want to start out collecting for Nintendo DS. This is a great game to pick up. If you want to rage more, Mario Kart DS. Mario Kart DS, honestly, wasn't one of my favorites in the Mario Kart series, but it's also another great game. I recommend Mario Kart DS. Just for the fact that it's Mario Kart and it's on DS, and you can play Mario Kart on the go. Well, you can do that now with the Switch, obviously, but it has great mini games. I will give it that. It introduced a lot of mini games into the series that we didn't have before. The first Super Mario Bros. Game since Super Mario World. Yeah, oh yes, there's Super Mario World. You're right. Yes, you're right. Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon. So this is Marth's game, if you know Marth from the... What's it called? Super Smash Brothers series. A lot of people know Fire Emblem characters from there. And, especially, these older games. There's Marth there on the back. These older Fire Emblem games they didn't really do too well. And but obviously now they're really sought after. This is definitely cheaper than what it's worth now. But Fire Emblem is an amazing series that I would highly recommend to anybody to play. Shadow Dragon really picks up where the Game Boy Advance games left off, and it really does really well. Not in terms of story, obviously, but in terms of gameplay. Actually weird, but good. Brain Age and Brain Age 2. You want to test your brain? These are the games. These came with, I think these are a lot of games people would buy as a first game when they would buy their DS because they were cheap, and it's what your parents would buy you because it said train your brain in minutes a day. I don't know where I got both of these. I think one of them was when my parents bought me the DS. They also got Brain Age with it. And I think I actually went out of my way and bought this one. They're good games. All things considered, people will meme on them. But I'd say Brain Age, 1 hour Brain Age keeps the doctor away. Atari Greatest Hits. This is really the only thing I have for Atari. On the DS, it's pretty cool to have a lot of these Atari games on the go. There's the list. I don't know if we can actually see it. Here we go. But it has just the big ones, right? Basketball. So like it has the big ones. But no, I'm just kidding. It has like, Asteroids, Adventure, Tempest, and Submarine Commander. Some really, really classic titles. Obviously the greatest hits. This is volume 1. They had a few more volumes that came with this, but this is actually, if you want to play Atari games on the go on your Nintendo DS, this is the way to go. No Yar's Revenge on that, huh? Well, that's in volume 2 apparently. Yar's has to be on 4. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Put that away. Oh no, I'm dropping things. Apparently, it says I can lock volume in OBS. I didn't know I could do that. Put away the DS. And let's move up in the world with the Nintendo 3DS. Actually, let's do it this way. This might be better. Speaking of Fire Emblem, some of the best Fire Emblem games, in my opinion, have come out on the Nintendo 3DS. Fire Emblem Awakening. This introduced Lucina and Chrom. Widely considered one of the best games to be released. Is our music still playing, by the way? I think it is. Oops. Oh no. It is playing. It's just playing super low. There we go. Yeah. Widely considered one of the best Fire Emblem games. I would highly recommend it. It has an amazing story. Great title. Really is. Fire Emblem Fates Birthright. Another great one. There is a second version of this called Conquest. It has 2 different real stories. It follows a new character, Corrin, There's Corrin on the back there. Great game. So you can have, so this is kind of like the nice, it's a more brighter. These are like the birthright family, the greater, nicer characters, I guess you could say. But that, with that said, you have the Conquest version. It features the kind of the enemies to these characters in the game. Really interesting story for Corrin on that one as well. Fire Emblem Shadows of Valencia Echoes. Really great as well for another Fire Emblem series. This one's story is fantastic. Its gameplay is amazing. I'd say this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite Fire Emblem game. It's a remake of the second Fire Emblem game that I believe came out on the Super Famicom, but it didn't come out on English markets until this release. Great game. I don't know if it was a Super Famicom or I think it was just the NES, but only in Japan. Something like that. Great game. If you really want to get into Fire Emblem series, these three on the 3DS are great pickups. Kid Icarus Uprising. So Kid Icarus is another great, fantastic game. So this is the second reboot version. Where's my music at? Hang on. It's like I'm looking at it, but it's just like... The music was disappearing. I don't like that. Now it's too loud. I think that song it was just playing on was like very calm. Maybe a little too calm. We can't have that. There you go. Yeah, Kid Icarus Uprising. After Kid Icarus came out on the NES, there was really no other titles. Actually, I don't think there was any at all. And then you had Kid Icarus Uprising release. And this puts a lot of story into Pit and Palutena, and actually a really great game. If you want to learn more about Kid Icarus, this is really the way to go. This is my Ocarina of Time copy, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. Fantastic title, fantastic. Would highly recommend playing Ocarina of Time, whether in this format or the original. Widely considered one of the best Legend of Zelda games, if not one of the best games to ever be released. Very, very fantastic. Great music, great gameplay. Link really does well in that. And then there is Majora's Mask 3D, which is the other one. I didn't really like this one. I don't know. I like the original better. I didn't really care for the 3D version of the game. Nonetheless, I appreciate its 3D-ness. It's a remaster in a way. But, nonetheless, it's a great game. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon. So Luigi's Mansion, amazing series that follows just Luigi. I didn't have the first Luigi's Mansion. I only have... I don't have it now. I used to have it. But Dark Moon is the second in the series. I'm actually currently playing through this game at the moment. Great game. Really, focuses on the same type of story. There's mansion, but it gives you different levels instead of just the one mansion level. I don't know how I feel about that part of it. I really like just the one level. Kind of going through the mansion there. The GameCube version is a little creepier, but this adds a lot of very interesting elements to the game, which I really appreciate. I was alive when the OGs came out, so this was my only option, and the OGs are over. Yeah, the OGs are expensive. Yeah, I don't think I was alive either when they came out. When did they come out? They came out like 94 or something like that. I just got really lucky with purchasing them after the fact. Myst. This is the remastered version or the repolished version of a hit computer title. Best adventure game there ever was, apparently, with all new art. So Myst is a really great game. There is a couple of versions that you can get of this here. This is obviously the handheld 3DS version. Haven't put too much time into this, really, but you know, if you really like those old adventure games that were on the computers back in the day, that's it. New Super Mario Brothers 2, second Super Mario Brothers game. Red case, by the way. This is great as well. It takes on what the New Super Mario Brothers game had on the DS and really evolved upon it for the second game. And I'd say they did a great job with it. They did a great job with it. And it's relatively inexpensive too to pick up. Pokemon Ultra Sun. Pokemon Ultra Sun is the seventh installment in the series. Not a fan, all things considered. I mean, it's okay, but it's not the greatest title for me. But it's Pokemon. I still play it, and I still will go crazy with it when it comes to that. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, which is the remake of the third generation games. This one's the remake of Sapphire. Obviously, you know, Ruby and Sapphire are great games. It really did a great job with it. There's Kyogre kind of going ham, as we can see. Behold the true Kyogre. So this one introduced a lot of new elements to that game that are kind of... I believe this came out before Ultra Sun, Sun and Moon. I think it came out during X and Y's era. But a great addition to the 3DS library. Steel Diver. Can't comment on it because I've never played it. This is the first game I got for the 3DS. One of the first. I never really played it, but I hear it's good. I hear it's a great game, and people do enjoy it. To some people, it might be kind of a hidden gem. As far as I understand, you're a submarine, and you're going through levels kind of a linear way. And you kind of use the capabilities of the 3DS really well. Like you would turn the 3DS and use this the gyros. We'll say that. You would turn the 3DS to kind of look around like you're in a submarine in some instances. So some others might have more comments on that, but apparently that's a great game. Super Mario 3D Land. Bringing Mario to full 3D world on the 3DS. This really did a good job because this really showcased the 3D environments of the 3DS. You know, 3D didn't really do well, like when you would turn on the 3D for the 3DS. But this did it. I think did it a great job. And Nintendo, you know, really kind of sold it in the beginning, and then a lot of games just tried it and they didn't do too well with it. But this is a great one. This has a lot of reoccurring themes as well from earlier games. Steel Diver is the 3DS game. Everyone had it because it was one of the few free games. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I heard a lot of people loved it. Maybe it's a lot of nostalgia that goes with that game. So that's probably why. Super Smash Brothers for 3DS. I don't have a Wii U. I don't have a Wii U, so this was my version of Super Smash Brothers 4. Plays very similar to the Wii U version. You know, I got my taste of it, and you know, I was pretty happy with this port. Now it is downscaled, but they kept it true as much as they could, and I really enjoyed it. They actually did have an online community at the time that people did play, but I liked it, and I still like it today. Okay, so that's done. Family's gonna be on Family Feud. Really? Wow, that's pretty intense. That's awesome, though. Well, congratulations to your family on that. This is the 3DS, by the way, as well. This is my version of it. I have the ruby red version of the 3DS. There's your camera in front and your two cameras on the back. Your 3D button here. And what I really loved about the 3DS was this. Like, that was much needed, but you still have this too. One of my favorite consoles. Now let's get a little crazy with it. Recently started really getting into PSP. PSP was, you know, honestly, like, the power that the PSP has and had is unreal. I would say the PSP is the console for the handhelds, as much as I love the 3DS, but the games that you can get on this thing, and the power of the PSP was next level. Obviously, it came out, I think it came out shortly after the original Nintendo DS, but not too far. It wasn't as popular in North America, but it had popularity. I just started collecting for this console, and so these games I've all played recently, and I'll show you which ones are great. Assassin's Creed Bloodlines by Ubisoft. So this follows kind of the continuation of the first Assassin's Creed game. So you are playing as Altair, who is the main protagonist in the original Assassin's Creed. So it's a little bit of continuation to his story. It did a great job feeling like you're playing, you know, Assassin's Creed 1 on your PSP. Obviously, it's not going to have the full capabilities of it, but they did a fantastic job. Relatively inexpensive and a great game if you really want to get into that. Avatar. Another one. I'd say Avatar games are a hidden gem for console games. So the original Avatar series had 3 or 4 different games. I think they had this one on the PSP. They had the Xbox 360 one, and then they had another one on the DS, I think. But this one here, you know, great story that comes with it, great gameplay. It's just fun to sit there and just play around with. I would recommend if you want to just, you know, have a game to play and kick back and just get into the world of Pandora. That's the game to go with on PSP. God of War. So God of War had a couple of titles on the PSP, and they're both fantastic. Really short games, and I think I beat this in one day. But this is Chains of Olympus. Great game. Again, you know, PSP, I can't say more. You know, the games on this have amazing content, and the next one I'm going to showcase is a major hidden gem, I would say. But this is, you know, a great God of War game. There is another one. I can't remember what it's called on the PSP, which I haven't picked up yet, and I want to. But this one I had a great time playing. Major hidden gem, Jeanne d'Arc. So this is an incredible game by Sony. It is an RPG that plays a lot like Fire Emblem, but follows the story of Joan of Arc. And I can't say anything else about, like, any more about how great this game is. It's just, you know, the back of it kind of shows a little bit about it. But if you know, I highly recommend taking a look at this game. If you don't have a PSP, find a way to play it in a good way. But it's a great hidden gem. I can't say any more about that. That's just actually unreal for the game. And I'll show you just kind of the inside here, might as well. You have your instruction booklets, then your UMD discs, which are really cool. This is the PSP disc. Comes on a little UMD here. Great game. Probably the best one on PSP for me. Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier. Haven't played it yet. The only one on PSP I haven't played yet. But it's the Jak and Daxter game, and it's kind of very similar to the PS2 version of it. I say like the Assassin's Creed one. So it's Jak and Daxter, and this game did receive a lot of great reviews. Another great Sony title. Oh, speaking of this is another one I haven't played yet. Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops Plus. So I bought this thinking it was its own Metal Gear Solid game, but this is the add-on to the original Metal Gear Solid Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. Yeah, it's the original add-on. I don't have the original version of it, so I never really played it, and I don't think you can play it without it. No, you can, but it just doesn't contain the original. And I'd rather play the original first before I jump into this, so that's why this one's still sitting. I had every intention to play it. Ouch. Valkyria Chronicles 2. Valkyria Chronicles is a definite hidden gem on the PlayStation 3. This was the second version of it. It only came out on PSP. An amazing RPG. It's a shooter RPG, turn-based combat. Incredible story that goes along with these games. The second one here is great. It's a little different. In terms of story, the quality is pulled out a bit. It's a little harder too. But people don't give this one enough credit in the series. I think it's a great game. This one's made by Sega. We'll get into the original Valkyria Chronicles later on, but a hidden gem for sure. X-Men Legends, Rise of Apocalypse. There, X-Men Legends is a great series as well. The first one I played on the original Xbox, and it's an incredible co-op game. This one is also really good too. This one's on the PSP, and like the PSP, like on the other games, they're very similar to the original. They do a great job with it. I've really enjoyed this game too. Holds up really well even today. That's PSP. So I think where are we at here? So that's Handhelds. Yeah, that's Handhelds. The next ones I have are PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, 5, GameCube, Nintendo Wii, Switch, Xbox 360, and the Xbox One, and PC. Yeah, I mean, those are the ones I have remaining. What are we at right now for time? Obviously, we won't be able to get through all that in one sitting. But I think that's where we'll have to probably call it here for today's stream, because the rest of them are going to be, I think, would be great for another time just to really showcase everything. But I wanted to do a bit of that today and kind of go through the retro stuff to Handhelds. And I think that was fun. I hope we had a great time doing that, because I did. I love talking about, video games and older stuff like that. I could do a full room tour one day, and that's my ultimate plan, but I wanted to at least get something like that done there. Thank you so much for watching this here. Really appreciate it, and we'll continue on with the other part of it. Maybe on Wednesday. If I have time on Wednesday, and I think I can stream, we'll get through the other part of it. I think that'll be fun. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.